Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about Halloween, the return of Michael Myers. So this is the fourth movie in the Halloween franchise, and it came out in 1988. And the reason why, most people know why it's called, the return of Michael Myers, because simple fact, he actually did return. Because in the third one, it went in a completely different direction. Because John Carpenter originally wanted this to be an anthology. And so with the third one, since Michael Myers died and the second one being burnt alive, they decided to go in a completely different direction. No Laurie, no Michael, no Dr. Loomis, none of them. Basically, it's just a man who wants to murder a bunch of kids for Halloween by infecting their Halloween masks and stuff. It's a little sci-fi mixed with supernatural type stuff. And it had negative reviews when it first came out. However, most people praise it now and says it's underestimated. Similar to this movie had negative reviews, but it is now a cult classic. I think the movie's all right, it's pretty good. My only problem with this movie is the plot armor that surrounds Michael Myers. It's just strange and it's bizarre. But other than that, you can follow the story pretty well, and it's pretty good. In fact, I like following this story a whole lot more than the original Halloween movie, only because when I watched that movie, I had completely different expectations. After watching Halloween Kills first, and knowing the legacy of these movies and stuff, I was expecting something really huge and phenomenal. But I was very shocked to see it was just a normal high school girl going to school, doing this and that, and just some insane asylum dude escaped and just started stalking her for no reason and stuff. And so and with the lack of motivation, I just felt very odd just watching the movie. And I've always said, I like the Halloween movies. I like the Halloween movies when there's an actual motivation and stuff. I just don't like it when people just start randomly doing things. And it's kind of why? You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up with slashers with Scream. So, with Scream, there was always a motive to why, the slasher did what they did. But people love the Halloween franchise for the simple fact that they have no idea why Michael Myers does what he does. He just does it. And, I can understand that and respect that and stuff. But, at the same time, I need a motivation and stuff. And, well, it's with this movie, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis didn't want to come back. She didn't even want to come back for the second because she was a huge star after the decade in which the first movie came out and stuff. And so, it kind of does suck she didn't want to come back to the thing that legitimately made her famous to begin with, but, it is what it is. And she went on to have a huge, movie career since then. And so, they needed somebody to be the new final girl. And they picked Danielle Harris to play Jamie Lord. Which, of course, Jamie is an homage to Jamie Lee Curtis. Or it could just be a slap in the face because she didn't want to return. You know what I'm saying? However you feel to choose, which version you want to go with. And stuff. And it's always weird how Jamie doesn't always want to come back to these movies. Because she didn't want to come back for the second. She didn't want to come back for the third or none of the others. But then she came back about, 20 years later for Halloween H2O. But then for Resurrection, she didn't want to come back and they had to kill her character off again. And it's always weird when she doesn't want to come back. But then it was even weirder when she came back for the new rebooted version. And it's like, it's pretty obvious why she came back then. Like, she left this franchise because she became like a huge star. Then, like, after Resurrection, and then I'm about to say, the 2000s, like, her career started to slow down because she was making non-stop movies from the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. And so, with her career just slowing down, still being relevant, but slowing down and everything, she came back for the new trilogy from the reboot version and stuff, or the revival, whichever you want to call it. And so now they know they're making that TV show for Universal, so who knows what's going to happen now? Who knows if she'll ever return? And so, like, of course, Daniel Pleasance, he comes back, no, Donald Pleasance, he comes back as Dr. Loomis. You know, I truly feel like when it comes to like curse of not curse but like yeah, no, is it curse, yeah, the curse of like Michael Myers and all the other like Halloween movies that don't have him in it, it's truly missing something. That man brought a true gravitas to not only that role but like the franchise, because he is the only person who really sees what Michael Myers is other than Laurie. He is pure evil, and they know to go after him. But where Lori in the reboot version, she just waits for him to come to her with her house booby trap. He actually goes to the fight. And it's really interesting because he is the Ahab and Michael is his Moby Dick and everything. And when he left, you missed that. Like, you really truly do, because the second Halloween is actually the probably like the one that really got me into like liking these movies to a certain degree. And with him gone, and also with the movies going in that weird supernatural route, because when it comes to the fifth and sixth movie, I won't watch those. I tried to watch the fifth. I had no idea the fifth um had to do with the whole Thorn trilogy and stuff. But technically, this movie starts it off, but you don't see none of that paranormal freakiness. But with the whole, like, fifth movie, I started watching that, and I was very shocked. I didn't understand at first why Jamie was mute. Then she started convulsing and started seeing through Michael's eyes because they're connected. And I'm just like, ah, crap. It must be that one where it's like, the weird supernatural thing, but then like that's part of it, but then also curse is part of that too. So I decided to stop watching the fifth movie. Yes, the whole her being select mutism thing, that's great for character development, as long as it's not the entire movie. And whoa, man, I gotta give it up. Danielle Harris, boy, I've always been a fan of hers. Ever since I saw that Disney Freaky Friday type movie called Wish Upon a Star. But man, in Halloween 5, she was killing it with those like convulsions and stuff. And she was just a little girl at that time. And so like props to her, man. Like, she did a good job in the fourth movie too. But like, she was just your typical dopey little new kid until Michael started chasing her, and then she really brought it. And I was very shocked at like the ending of like this movie, because like I was not expecting that. It was just like very shocking. And now I see why Rob Zombie took inspiration from this fourth movie and made it into his. The motivation of like, Michael getting picked on, and then like, Lori turning the way she did, to the dark side and everything. It's like, okay, he really must have liked like, this movie or something, because it's had to been the inspiration for his movie and stuff. And with the rest of the cast, they're pretty cool as well. Like, Ellie Cornell, who plays, I believe her name is Rachel. She was cool as like the foster sister. It's like, you know, Jamie's just like put on them, and she tries to be a good like foster sister, but don't really want to. But when push comes to shove, she has like a real sister, and that's really great. It just sucks they killed her in the fifth one. And like, Who else is in this? George P. Wilbur. Ah, may he rest in peace. He died in February of this year, and he's the one who plays Michael Myers. And so, like Kathleen Kinmount, I had no idea she is the lady from Renegades. I'm like, oh man, I used to love watching Renegades. I really need to rewatch that because on all those apps and stuff, I don't never have enough time. And she plays Kelly. And the dude who plays Brady, like, he was pretty good as well, even though his character sucked. And so, like, it's funny. Originally, the name of Jamie was supposed to be Brittany, and Melissa Joan Hart, of all people, like, auditioned for the role of Jamie. That would have been interesting if she would have had it. But I really like Danielle's, like, presence in the movie. And so basically, what has happened is that 10 years has passed, and Lori and her husband have died in a car accident. And so, as a result, their child Jamie, who's like 10 now, she's in foster care. And she's a pretty normal girl, but she wants like a real sister, a real mother, stuff like that. But she gets picked on by all those little bratty kids at school because her uncle is the boogeyman. And so it really sucks because she won't do anything for Halloween because of the events that happen with her uncle and her mom and stuff like that. But when the kids start picking on her, that's when she wants to go trick or treating. And ironically, she dresses just like the way Michael did when he was a kid and killed his older sister. And that was freaking, and it's like people probably didn't expect to happen what happened at the end, and it was just a great setup. And so anyways, Michael has been in a coma for about 10 years or so after the whole him being burnt alive, which he survived. Dr. Loomis has burn marks as well. When they try to transfer Michael and he escapes, Dr. Loomis is on the hunt. And then this is the problem I have with Michael Myers in the movie. It's all the plot armor. After he escapes, he goes to the gas station, he kills a random dude there, right? But then that's the same gas station that later Dr. Loomis just so happens to go to. Then, he doesn't use his trademark weapon, and Michael is way too strong. The dude has been in a coma for 10 years, and they literally said he will barely be able to do anything because his muscles aren't are very weak. But then yet the dude's able to crush a person's skull with just his thumb. They made him overly too powerful. And that's what really bugs the crap out of me when it comes to Michael Myers. Is that he's too powerful, he's too strong, and he always survives death. And so after all that, he doesn't use his trademark weapon. He literally takes a rifle and he shoves it through a girl's sternum and everything. Then, he finds his signature weapon in the attic in the most random place, and it's just way too much plot armor. Then when they escape the school, because he chased them to the school and everything, he always just randomly appears where he always needs to be, and it's just too much plot armor. Because when the people are ahead of him, he just automatically shows up, and it's they was ahead of him when they escaped the school, but then he was hiding underneath the truck, the redneck truck, and it's how the heck, there's just way too much plot armor. And then so with Rachel, she's dealing with her cheating boyfriend, Brody, who's cheating with him with the girl at the store who happens to be the daughter of the sheriff. I like that line with the sheriff's all if I find out you've been touching my daughter, I'm going to use that rifle on you. Oh, boy. And the kills, that's one thing about these Halloween movies is that you barely see him kill anybody on screen. And that is really weak in my opinion. At least in Scream, you see people getting it and stuff. Also, there's the weird thing with the mask. The mask looks very odd and it shapes his neck very oddly too. Then all of a sudden his mask goes from that orangish brown kind of hair color to blonde for whatever reason. And that's just weird, man. Like, it's really, really weird. And so, like, of course, after shooting him a couple of times, which he supposedly dies and then falls into the ground, and that's that. But then it turns out in the fifth movie, he survived that. Going off into the lake of all things. So I guess they must be like stormtroopers and just can't shoot. But then the shocking thing came at the very end. Is that they keep telling Jamie stay away from Michael, this and that, and she held his hand. Then at the end of the movie, she picked up some scissors, put on her mask, and it's like an homage to the first movie, to the very beginning, and she stabs the crap out of her foster mother. And she's all bloody, and it's like, holy crap, she has become a murderer now. But the question is, why? Well, then the fifth movie gets very confusing. We see the foster sister still with, like, Jamie holding her and hugging her, and it's just kind of like, dude, she just murdered your mom. Why are you hugging her? And everything. And she's in that little psych ward and everything. And so then it turns out that apparently there's some kind of weird supernatural voodoo thing, and he passed his killing ways on to her. And it's really weird and bizarre, the fifth movie is. Where Danielle has literally said she's still confused by like the fifth movie, because she assumed that, she would be turned into like a murderer and start killing people in the fifth movie, but that didn't happen. I'm assuming the studio just didn't want to see a little 10-year-old girl, or 11 at this time, just walking around the streets murdering people and stuff. So they had to retcon that entire thing. Which I understand, but that was the whole setup of, like, the movie. Or most likely, they were probably gonna jump a few years in the future and have her turn into like the new Michael Myers or something. And they probably didn't want to do that because people just wanted Michael Myers. And so it had a budget about 4 million, made about 17 million, and people didn't like it at that time. But now they do. I like the overall movie of it, the story and everything, but I just don't like the plot armor that surrounds Michael Myers. It makes no sense whatsoever. And it's such disbelief that you really do think he is supernatural. Now, wasn't that spooky? Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.